More information comes out about the Joey Dwecko alleged rumor that he knocked out Anthony Joshua in sparring. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Let's jump right into it. Man, this is getting it's getting deep. So I'm not going to go over everything. You have to hit the subscribe button, check out the past videos, and I'm covering what's being reported. And, I'll quickly go over it. Now, Andy Ruiz dropped Anthony Joshua. It was the worst night of his professional career, and beat him. Became the first Mexican heavyweight, Mexican-American, to have that coveted heavyweight title. Some people were shocked. I did the 7 reasons, so I'm not as shocked as everyone else. But, I get it, just because it's the size differential, late notice, and those types of things. Now, after, there was basically a bunch of rumors that are circulating regarding what happened in camp and, turmoil in the camp. And the rumors, people are still trying to sift through what they feel is real or, what's plausible and stuff like that. But some things aren't just simply rumor. And we're going to talk about that. For example, a visibly enraged Robert Joshua's pops approached Eddie Hearn and people were there and they seen it. I don't know if anyone's came out and said exactly what he said, but that he was heard cussing at Eddie Hearn, and you could see him visibly angry and pulling up on Eddie Hearn, who's just looked kind of spooked. Eddie Hearn is being very dismissive and saying this is all a fake story. But again, for me, Joshua's team has done a lot of fibs, a lot of fibbing, so I can't just readily believe what's being said. People keep saying Joshua was hurt and concussed in sparring, and Eddie Hearn's denying it. So someone said if the Joshua panic attack, they're saying he had panic attacks leaving the dressing room, and there was turmoil before the fight, which to me sounds plausible if you look at Joshua, his team when they walked out the locker room. Just go watch it. You don't have to take my word for it. They all look visibly like they were going to a funeral or something. The whole team looked upset. You don't really see that. I understand people are just walking out and stuff, but it was just a different. This is something I noticed on first viewing. It was very solemn. Joshua was blinking his eyes and opened his eyes real wide. It was I don't know. The moment was too big for him, and the pressure was coming down, and he was just trying to contain it, and had a serious case of the jitters. Which really, to me, if he did have a panic attack, he's human. It was his American debut. He's fighting a guy that is a late switch. He allegedly got hurt in sparring camp, and, some of his sparring partners were giving him some tough work. He had bruises and cuts on his face, which would, suggest that is actually, that's another thing that's fact. He did an interview with Radio Raheem and said it was some physio stuff. And Radio Raheem kind of questioned it. And then 2 days later, he told Sky Sports he had a line in the camp and he had some tough sparring because he was really dialed in and switched on. So he had tough sparring. So again, I can't just listen to mere words at that point when you and your team have changed what you were saying day by day. I can't personally as a man. So somebody said, I heard he had a panic attack. And Eddie Hearn forced him to go fight. So of course Eddie Hearn's not going to expand and admit this. It said, from someone who suffered severe real panic attacks for years, I could tell you they are no joke. You feel like you're going to die. And then Eddie Hearn, he's dismissive. Panic attack. I've heard all sorts of rumors. There was no issue at all going into the fight. And the guy who said that says fair play. And Eddie Hearn says, no, he isn't. The fake story was a quote from Peter Fury that Peter Fury didn't even say. To me, I don't care what no one says. It's not about words at a point. And you guys could look on social media. I can't play other people's clips like that for copyright reasons. I know what I've seen. Fuck what people are saying. I know what I seen. Joshua seemed all out of whack, out of sorts, spaced out, you know? So it's not just the fact that rumors come out when something like this happens, because we're just expect that. But man, it's looking terrible for old media. I told you, but this is the game that wants to be played, so we're just gonna keep talking about it. So they're saying he was roughed up. WorldBoxingNews.net, link in the description. They have another article. So even though Eddie Hearn, I'm trying to get you guys caught up. Even though Eddie Hearn is denouncing this and saying, oh, he just lost fair and square, World Boxing News came out with another article. They came out with the initial article saying, hey, we heard he was getting roughed up, badly hurt in sparring, you know, and then we found out the guy is Joey Dweko. I've heard it was Joey Dweko or Ajit Kabayel. You know, there's different people rumoring. Just so you guys see, this is his Instagram, Joey, the one that allegedly roughed up Joshua at sparring. And this is what he said: going live tonight to talk about the AJ fight and answer any questions that everyone has. He did that hours ago. And then this is what he came back and said.
Sorry, everybody. I just got back from a late night run. I didn't get a chance to go live. I'm training for a huge fight right now, so I'm basically focused on that. Sorry.
So he said he was going to go live and talk about the AJ fight and, you know, answer people's questions. But then he came back and said, yo, I'm training. I got back late, so I'm not doing the live. Right. So anyway, let's keep it going. Smash the like button. Joey Dweko, Charles Martin victim who KO'd Anthony Joshua in sparring. This is a UK credible company website, and they're saying they talk to the necessary people, sources, and they keep putting out articles suggesting that Joshua was hurt before, you know, in sparring. Said in the wake of WBN revealing Joshua was dropped heavily in sparring, Dweko to many contributed to the former heavyweight champion's demise. Dweko was drafted in for late U.S. training camp alongside Joshua. The Briton was going through final preparations to face Andy Ruiz Jr. A 7-loss also ran contender, because he has 7 losses. Dweko has a similar body type to Andy Ruiz, which I told you guys. I was like, that's actually, you know, in terms of stature, Dweko a little bit shorter, but, you know, they got the same kind of build. Having lost his last 3 bouts, Dweko would have been looked at as somebody who Joshua would not need to be weary of. This fact may have negated the need for a head guard, unconfirmed. So they're saying they speculate or whatever, or they've heard, but they're not actually. Somebody's feeding them some information. This is what it is. Somebody inside in the know is feeding them some kind of information. Whether it's true or not, that's what, you know, has to be decided. But it says the fact may have negated the need for a head guard, unconfirmed, during rounds. WBN has learned Joshua was hurt and boasted the scars that protection would have stopped of the battle at a media gathering soon after, which we all seen Joshua had scars on his face. Joshua brushed off the facial damage as nothing, although World Boxing News understands Dweko caused the injuries. The Philadelphian can punch despite his deceptive record, but he has been stopped by ex-Joshua foe Charles Martin. That's someone they have in common. This is something else that Joshua might have known. And like, yo, Charles Martin is bigger than you. I stopped him in a professional fight with no headgear. So he may have underestimated Dweko, right? He also had boasted a draw with Gerald Miller as possibly his best result. Dweko lost to Brian Jennings. I seen that fight because they're both from Philly, you know, and Kuzmin of late. Like, I think that was his last fight. Sworn to secrecy, Dweko has so far refused to comment on the situation, which is what I said. Usually if you're high profile, you're sparring Conor McGregor, he has all the Paulie Malignaggi sparring tapes. Notice how Paulie was, he broke the NDA, you know, because they started trying to trash his name. So he's like, fuck that. And then you seen all that, what happened at sparring. But Paulie himself, being the B-side sparring partner brought in, he was not able to record or have recordings of his own versus Conor McGregor. This is customary when you're fighting and sparring an A-lister. They if they want to record it, it's their gym and all that, then they could do it. But you can't, and you probably have to sign an NDA. Sworn to secrecy, Dweko has so far refused to comment. In a further twist, WBN has been informed that Joshua suffered a, quote, secondary concussion and maybe should have thought twice about fighting on June 1st. Father Robert wanted the contest called off, although it seems Joshua and his team intended to plow on with the Ruiz encounter. The rest is now history. Ruiz dropped Joshua 4 times en route, to the shock win in Madison Square Garden. Promoter Eddie Hearn has denied any notion of Joshua being banged out in preparations, furthermore dismissing claims that Joshua went through a panic attack in the dressing room. It was obviously banked on that Joshua would be able to get through Ruiz. This is despite certainly not being 100%. Something just didn't look right with the usually calm 29-year-old. All the way through the ring walk, Joshua looked uneasy. They're saying the same thing as he chewed his gum shield nervously. Never has Joshua been so uncomfortable through the pre-fight rituals. The night was highly apparent he would rather be anywhere else other than Madison Square Garden. Once the fight began, Joshua had lost his killer instinct. Trainer Robin McCracken frantically trying to breathe some life into the Olympic gold medalist. Usually a brilliant and calculated finisher, Joshua let his guard down. Blah, blah, blah. So, World Boxing, shout out to them, bro. They added, they're staying with the situation, and they're double downing on what they said. This sounds absolutely plausible, bro. See, this what I'm saying. Like, I'm not, Judge Judy or some shit, but look at the fact. Why was Joshua looking like that, right? Why was the father so targeted? Okay, why would the father go to Eddie Hearn and be visibly seen distraught, cussing him out because his son just got stopped and lost all his belts? Why not attack Rob McCracken? That's Joshua's trainer. Why go at Eddie Hearn directly? If the father didn't hear about what happened in the, behind the scenes, and this sparring thing never happened, and Joshua came in, 100% healthy and all that, then what caused these things? Biggie, what happened? What caused these things? Like, why did the father lunge at Eddie Hearn? And like I said, it's easy to dismiss it if everybody's, sworn to secrecy and there's NDAs and you have a gag order to protect what people are saying. So, all I know is something looked wrong. I noticed that before the fight even happened. The whole fight week felt weird, and it definitely felt weird. Just go watch the ring walk. And then, like I said, there's also circumstantial evidence. You guys can believe what you want. I'm just telling you what's being reported, and I'm telling you what I feel, my hunch. Dweko sparred with Andy Ruiz. See, they have similar builds. He was clearly in camp with Joshua, so we know that much to be true, evident by these pictures. And here's some more circumstantial evidence.
He's gonna tell you that I'm the best sparring partner you had. I heard him say it. Oh, man.
He just said, look, this is May 24th, people. So this was before the outcome of Andy Ruiz fight, right? And he said, I'm going to go live with the champ. He has a little video, not of no sparring or anything. And Joshua is at least giving him his props. And the first thing he said, I'm going live with the champ. And he says, tell him I'm the best sparring partner that you've had. Ha, ha, ha. And Joshua said, this guy's power. And then he held his hand. He said, man, this guy got some power. Bro, it's not like, So you tell me what you think. We have all these rumors swirling. Cool. The father was visibly angry. Joshua looked nervous as hell. They're saying it was no panic attack. He felt great. You know what I'm saying? There's likely NDAs, right? We have Joshua on camera vouching for this guy's power. So we know he feels that this guy is a strong puncher because he said it twice. And then the Wecko said, "Tell him I'm your best sparring partner." Ha ha ha. You know, like Eminem said, there's a lot of truth that's said in jest. People will joke, but sometimes people say stuff like that. You see a girl at your job, you're like, "Man, let me take you out." Ha ha ha. But you really want to take her out. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of truth that's said in jest. You know, so we know he was in camp. It sounds like this story has some legs to it. And then WBN keeps double downing on it. You guys can believe whatever you want, but that night seemed all wrong. It seemed disastrous. And this, what World Boxing News is suggesting, based on what they've heard, is a puzzle piece that would make sense why Joshua's dad was upset. If he tried to get this event canceled, like, yo, my son bugging out, or he has a concussion, you know what I'm saying? And then Eddie Hearn was like, "No, we got too much riding on this. Like, he'll be good." And then it didn't play out. Then I can understand even more so why you'd be distraught. When have you name another fight where somebody's pops got in the ring or family member and they attacked anybody from the, you know, whatever? Like, I've seen when Mayweather got hit low versus Zab Judah, Roger Mayweather got in the ring and started trying to attack Zab's team. That's a family member. So, you know, I don't expect them to admit it, but this sounds like this story has some truth. Joey DeWecco, Ajit Caballel, something, you know. And I'm not saying this to, and I said this before when he was saying physios. When he was saying the physio stuff, he literally, don't take my word for it. He did an interview with Radio Raheem. Look, see, now we gotta pull all this stuff up. See, they try to make it like we crazy, right? They try to make it like we crazy. Okay. Look, all the evidence is already out there. Anthony Joshua reveals how he got his shiner ahead of his Andy Ruiz fight. This is Tuesday. This is before the fight even happened, right? Look, Radio Raheem in this interview is asking him how he has a black eye. And it said, asked about the cuts and bruising on his face, Joshua told Seconds Out, "Oh no, that was just some physio stuff, really? Some people are not good liars." Immediately, Radio Raheem said, "What? Like, what do you mean?" And then he says, "No one really does that to me in sparring and stuff like that. Like, nobody puts black eyes on me or something. So that was just more physio stuff, but that's it." Asked what he meant by physio stuff, Joshua added, "Like rehabilitation recovery." Right? So that sounds like a Freudian slip. He just asked what happened, and you say, "Oh yeah, nobody in sparring did that to me." What? So we have this too. He was being asked about it. I'm giving you guys all the paper trail of everything, and you tell me what you believe. And like I said, they want to make it like we crazy. Okay. So that's what he said the first day when he talked to Radio Raheem. Then, days leading up to the fight, he was asked again by Sky Sports cameras. They have a physical video, just like Radio Raheem. Sky Sports says Joshua versus Ruiz. Anthony Joshua dismisses concerns about swollen eyes ahead of his world title fight. This is the video. This is the write-up. Britain's unified champion makes his USA debut against Ruiz. Joshua, who has an inflamed right eyelid, a swelling under his left eye, and a cut on his nose. Right? Eddie Hearn says it was a sty, but a sty wouldn't. Why would you have if you have a sty in your eye? you have stuff in multiple locations, right? This is Sky Sports after the Raheem interview. It said, what happened, right? I was sparring a lion because I really want to take this camp seriously, Joshua told Sky Sports. It's just been tough, difficult training. I'm a fighter, so the scars and stuff. Look at my hands. That's just another war wound to my list of scars. That is it. Man, what, like, how's this adding up? So he said this on May 31st. He says, I was in with the lion in camp. That supports the WBN story. But when he talked to Radio Raheem, May 28th, a couple days before, he said it was physio stuff. So, like I said, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that support these claims. Why would you lie? Like, why would you say it was physio stuff? And then days later, you say you had a lion in the camp that put the marks on your face. What reason, what do people lie for when they have something to protect? Now, obviously, it makes sense if you got, hurt at sparring or whatever. You don't want to reveal that chink in the armor. You don't want people to know what really happened. Biggie, what happened? You don't want people to know that. So that's why I could understand that question maybe caught him off guard. But then there's a paper trail. Sky Sports, noticed it, and the Pandora's box had already been opened about the question. So they asked him, and then he changed his answer. So once again, I can't just rely on what I'm hearing from Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn when their team, they did this with Wilder fight too. I told you it was going to be bad for old media. Bro, we not letting up. We doing some real First 48 detective work. You put this together, this murder mystery, Clue, this game of Clue, and you tell me what makes sense to you. Like I said, it just fits so perfectly. Joshua looked very nervous. And that's the thing. You can say whatever you want. Watch the tape. Watch the tape. Watch him walking out. Watch this long ass walk. Joshua looking down, fidgeting with his mouthpiece, his gum shield. And then he looked happy when the fight ended, bro. I'm telling you, he looked happy. He looked happy and relieved. Look at him now. He playing chess. And he's laughing and stuff. I'm telling you, man. And see, let me just tell this. Some people think I'm saying this stuff to take credit from Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz did his fucking thing. It has nothing to do with taking away credit from Andy Ruiz, It has nothing to do with that. So please stop saying that. I'm not taking away credit. Andy Ruiz, he's the man. He did his thing, and it took his chin and his skill set and his willingness to, because he reached out for the fight. If I'm not mistaken, he sent a DM to Eddie Hearn. So, I mean, he played this masterful. I'm not saying, oh, Joshua was hurt in sparring, so, that made him blah, blah, blah. However, what I am saying is this. See, I can't show it, but look at Joshua. Look, he looked relieved that the pressure was gone. He didn't have to worry about it. He didn't have to be bothered anymore. Old media did this to Joshua. Right? He looked happy. Look. He looked just happy, like, oh, fuck, at least it's over. I was on my feet. I didn't get knocked out like, Khan versus Canelo type of knockout. And, it is what it is. I'll try to rebuild and bounce back. He looked happy. How do you come out walking out, look super nervous? And see, those are the things you can't hide. You can say whatever you want, but you can't hide looking like doing a public speech and you're holding a paper and your hands are shaking. You could try to look cool, calm, and people will see that, right? I remember they had a club out here in Fairfield. It was a comedy club. And then on Thursdays or whatever night, they did open mic night. So they just have people from the community who wanted to try their hand at comedy. I went to them, and then, if you're really bad, they shine this bright light in your face. This one dude held his jokes. He had his jokes written on the paper, and you could tell he was nervous because he wasn't like a versed comedian. He wasn't. He was just. It was an open mic night, and he was like maybe he was just trying to conquer his fear of public speaking or being a joke, but it was bad. He started shaking and shit. So it's like, it's hard to mask those things when that's what internally is going on. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Joshua he was bright, looking all wide-eyed and googly-eyed and stuff like that, and looking around real like skittish, like he was going through something. And then as soon as it ended, you see Joshua, and he kind of was like smiling. That, man, I know what panic attacks are, and I'm not no doctor. I'm not gonna say the severity of the panic attack and all this shit, but it looked like he was nervous as hell, at the very least. Looked like he was nervous as hell. American debut, your whole country came out to visit you. It was just a different feeling, and the physio stuff switching to, man, you guys could believe whatever you want. He's admitted that Joey Dweko has power, so I don't know. I don't think they'll admit it especially if why would you admit it? It's just like Paulie Malignaggi said to Conor McGregor. He said, I couldn't film it. They had NDAs and all that. The UFC and Conor got the tape. They still ain't released the tape. Conor McGregor said he whooped his ass. They keep releasing snippets. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look forward to the whole story necessarily coming out. Paulie told him, release the whole tape. If you beat my ass, show the whole non-doctored up, unedited tape, just roll it. That still hasn't come out, and that was like 2 years ago. So, you're not going to play me, new media. It looked like Joshua had this, like I said, he playing chess and checkers and all this shit. He looked relieved, Bro, I told you, there's new media is the future. You have to, it don't matter what you're saying. Eddie Hearn can say whatever he want. Keith Idec he's a prominent boxing writer, right? Look at what he put. Keith Idec, the day of the fight. Let me find it. So he writes for major websites. Eddie Hearn just told us he got the sense from Anthony Joshua that he's relieved to have suffered his first loss because there was so much pressure on him. Hashtag Joshua Ruiz. You guys put this story together and tell me if it makes sense. Eddie Hearn says no. There was no pre-existing injuries. There was no fears. And again, I'm not taking away from Andy Ruiz. He pulled the trigger and got things done. He had the chin to get up and the resolve to get up and still let his hands go, hurt or not, because Joshua drew first blood. But clearly, if you had a bad camp and you getting moved around by your sparring partners, that would create doubts, especially when you're in America and this was out of a comfort zone. I told you, Joshua to me is not a good liar. He's not good Johnny on the spot. He's not good improvising. So a lot of times when he talks, it sounds very robotic and scripted. Some questions, like when Radio Raheem said, hey, what's up with the cuts and bruises? I don't think he was prepared for that. So he didn't have a prepared answer. So he did the best he could do and said, oh yeah, it's a physio stuff. And he was like, what? Physio? Joshua's not used to that, because when he goes to the UK media doesn't drill him. They don't ask follow-up questions a lot of times. They just, sip tea and crumpets and is laughing and, spit a freestyle and it's all jovial. Joshua, to me, was out of his element. He came to America. I told you, America is different. The expectations are different. The style of reporting is different, clearly, than the UK. Same thing with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn does 2 hour long, Eddie Hearn Untamed and Eddie Hearn Raw with the UK. And it looks like he's in the office and he's sipping tea or coffee and he's having fun and he's making all these goofy faces for the thumbnail, doing all this. But when he had the DAZN kickoff concert, it wasn't that same type. Because it's different in the UK. They know what you could get away. It's like I could get away with something with my dad as a kid, but my mom ain't gonna have that. She ain't gonna allow, that, me not to clean up my dishes or, whatever the situation is. So you guys could believe what but all the signs point to this has some legs to it. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I told you we working. You tell me what you believe in the comment section. We working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.